Y'all know I'm not just a gun guy. I'm also a guitar guy, which a lot of gun guys are guitar guys, and vice versa. And I know I had done a video when I did my knife video. I talked about making the sheath and doing other leather work, and I showed some of my guitar straps that I had made. I'll show you the two guitar straps that I've gotten the most work out of. Now, first of all, I'm going to start by showing my what I call my number one and my number two guitars. They are um, by far the most special to me. I play these guitars as far as electrics more than any other guitars. The first one, my number one, it's a Fender Telecaster thin line, and you can tell by the serial number there that it's a 19. If it will focus, 1977 was the year it was made. I bought this new. It was brand new. It was hanging in Chandler Music in McKenzie for about 6 years before I bought it. I traveled a lot back when I was playing music during that time in my life. Of course, we was back and forth to Nashville a lot, and we would always go Highway 22 so we could stop by Chandler Music, and we made sure to make our times traveling so that we could hit it when it was open. And he got his Fender dealership, I would suppose in 77, because he had a ton of 1977 Fenders hanging in there. And there were two guitars that I was looking at, and every time I'd go by, he had this super bright yellow Fender Stratocaster with the fat headstock, because it was a 77, and he had this Telecaster thin line, and finally I thought, a guy would probably tire of a very bright yellow guitar quickly. So in times going through, I would always check, and he would still have this Telecaster hanging on the wall, and I would get it down. Being a thin line, it's kind of an odd duck, and it's not that they're not super rare, but obviously the standard Telecaster with the two single coil pickups were much more popular. What made this unique is the thin line has two Fender, what they call wide range humbuckers. You can see they got the Fender name stamped into the pickup covers. These were designed by Seth Lover, the same guy that designed the PAFs for Gibson. And this guitar, it eats Les Pauls for lunch. So I got it in like 1983, I'm thinking. And like I say, it was hanging on the shelf there for 6 years. And I bought it new old stock in 1983. I gave $525 for it, which was, that was a pretty premium price back then. Les Pauls at the time were going for about $890, something like that, $850, and this thing eats Les Pauls for lunch. Yeah, of course it's got the F hole, which makes it a thin line, and the upper bout from about probably right here back is hollow. And you say, well, what does that do to the sound? It does absolutely nothing to the sound. Really. I guess it's more for looks, and it's more for lightness. This guitar weighs 7 pounds and just a shade over 7 pounds and 1 ounce. So now that's unplugged. But I'll tell you something about electric. If it doesn't sound good unplugged, it's not going to sound good plugged in. There has to be some kind of natural resonance between the body and the neck with a bolt-on neck. And generally, if one sounds really good unplugged, it's going to sound really good plugged in, and this one does. And it's just, the action is so low, I don't know if you can see, but the action is so low. And of course it has the tilt adjust 3-bolt neck. And I never do nothing. I don't know, other than tweak the intonation occasionally when I think it might sound a little loud. I've never done anything to the setup on this guitar. I mean, I play the crap out of it. When the strings get really bad, I change them out, and I've never done any kind of adjustment work or anything on this guitar. It's been an amazing guitar, and everybody that plays it is just, they're like, when they lay their fingers on this necked chord, they're like, oh my gosh, because it plays so easy. So let's talk about the strap. It's a custom made strap. I made it not long after I made a strap for Waylon Jennings. We had a lot of white lace left over. I didn't want anything fancy. Now I had to put this nylon extender on here. Of course, you see I got the old Ernie Ball type strap locks that have really served me well. I had to put this extender on there because you may not believe this, but I'm a little bigger than I was, when I was 22. So, and of course, that's the way it's made. It's suede lined in the back, and didn't have one piece of suede long enough, so we just put the split right there. I mean, nobody ever sees that anyway. And it's a really cool strap, and very simple, and very easy to see my name on it, from a distance. And all the nicks on the guitar, you can probably see. This guitar has it has some finish crazing. You can see the cracks in the finish there. Just, that's the way it happens, Old fenders, they crack. I think there's some crazing right there on the lower bout. I don't know if you can see it in the light. That's just what happens with old fenders. And of course, where your arm lays, you wear it out. It's got some various nicks on there, and various nicks back here where you and scratches where you go to plug it in a hurry and kind of miss the mark. And I remember the first nick I got. Oh, there's a good crazing mark in the finish right there. You can see that good in the light. It's just the finish. The wood is expanding, and the finish, the nitrocellulose, is shrinking. Okay, that's the first nick I ever got in it. I had a microphone stand. I had this sitting, leaned against the amplifier, strings, fretboard side leaning against the amp, and had my amp stacked on a 412 cabinet, and matter of fact, had a 212 combo amp stacked on a 412 cabinet, and I had a mic stand sitting up there so I could mic the 212s. And I walked by and hit the cord and jerked the little short mic stand, it's about that tall, about a foot high. And jerked it off, and it fell and hit the back of the guitar. And to be honest, y'all, I wasn't really that tore up about it. My guitars are kind of like my guns. Now you can see this has been taken pretty good care of, considering all the sweat that is. And a lot of times when I played out, I would sweat so profusely that this would be almost white when I get done playing. And the finish would kind of be soft, and I just have to leave it alone and let it dry to get its color back. But it has been such an awesome guitar, and that's my number one. I call it Baby. So if I'm gonna take a guitar somewhere, Mary says, "Which one you want me to grab?" I say, "Hey, grab Baby." My number two is a 1976 Gibson Firebird, and you can see it's got the 76 there in the claws of the Firebird. It's not, they actually made these bicentennials through like 78 or 79, I'm thinking, with the bicentennial thing on them. But mine is an actual, if you can see I don't know if you can see or not, but the serial numbers back there actually begin with a 00. So that tells you that was an actual 1976. Of course, this is a neck through. That means the neck's not glued on. It's two pieces of mahogany glued together, and they run completely through the body, hence this raised portion right here. And then the wings are dovetailed on. If you can see, the wings are dovetailed on to the neck, which runs through the whole center of the body. Now, what this means is, it means two things. It means it's very thin right here because the neck's not glued on, so that there's no tenon joint here. It's very thin, so it allows good access. And this has one more fret than my Fender, which is, it's common. Gibsons have 22 frets. Fenders have 21. And there are some Skynyrd songs, like That Smell, where you need that 22nd fret to hit that Alan Collins lick up there. And because of course he recorded Freebird on a Firebird. He had a Firebird, and it's of course got the banjo tuners that stick out the back. So you look at it from the front, you don't see any tuning pegs sticking out from the sides here like you do on the Fender, because they're banjo tuners. The only thing that's not stock on this is I put a fine tuning bridge on there, and did this a long time ago to save the banjo tuners, because the ratio on these banjo tuners is very low. It's not a high ratio. So I get it in tune with these up here, and then any fine tuning as the strings stretch and as I play and bend and they stretch a little, any fine tuning I do right here on the bridge, and that saves me from having to be so particular with these banjo tuners getting this thing in tune. And of course I still have the original bridge or tailpiece. I still have, as a matter of fact, I've got the keys to the case. On my number one Baby, I still have the hang tag, I still have the owner's manual, and I still have the original receipt where I bought it. Now this one I did not buy new. This one was I'm going to say it was a gift because my bass player, the guy that played bass in my band when we had Renegade, went home to Detroit. Now I'm thinking he went home, I'm thinking it was a holiday, maybe. But he called me and he said, "You'll never guess what I just picked up." And I said, "What?" He said, now this was in 1986 or 87. He said, "I got a 1976, honest to goodness 76, with the hard shell case, keys still in the case, and bought it from a guy who bought it going to learn to play and never did." He said, "This thing has been under his bed for the last 10 years. He said, "And there's not a mark on it. There's no gold wear." He said, "It looks like a brand new guitar." And he said, "And I know you've been looking for a Firebird." And I said, "I definitely have been looking for a Firebird." And he said, "I just want to know, if you don't want it, I'm going to keep it, but do you want it?" And of course, then comes the drum roll, and I'm like, "What'd you have to pay for it?" And he said, "I gave him what he paid for it in 1976, brand new. That's all he wanted." And so I got this guitar from Donnie Hops for $450. Now, at the time, I'll just go ahead and say, did it have any collector value? Yeah, a little, I guess. I had found one new old stock at Chandler's from when he got his Gibson dealership, and he had a 76 there. Now, I believe it was actually a 77, so the serial number began with 01. But it was new old stock, and he wanted, the lowest I could get him for it then in 86 was $1,200. And that was a little steep, though it was new old stock, so it was in really good shape. But this one here was in absolutely perfect shape. It's an original 76 with the serial number starting with 00, and it did not have a mark on it. I mean, it had never been played. I'm guessing the strings that were on it when I got it were the strings that came on it in 1976. And so what a great deal. And you find these things now, and they're thousands of dollars. Same way with Baby. If you find a black thin line telly from anywhere from 72 to 77, they're thousands of dollars now. And that's why I tell you all about keeping them up. Keep your hang tags, keep your keys to your case. Keep all that case candy that comes with them. A lot of those old Fenders that came with an original strap and a little gray cord, and you keep all that stuff, and boy, it holds its value. Now, here's the kicker: I'm never selling these two guitars. Okay, they're going to be with me till I die. Now, obviously, I can't take them with me, and I'm not going to have them buried with me. But I'm going to tell you the way that I have always looked at good guns and good guitars. They're not mine. I am the custodian of them while I'm here. And when I die, if my family elects to sell them, the next guy that gets them is going to love them just like I did. He's going to take care of them until he dies, because we're all just the custodians. I mean, basically, you don't own anything here. You can't take anything with you when you go. So, but if you keep all that case candy and all that stuff, it'll be that much more dear to whoever gets it, when you're gone. So, and all the little marks, this one, obviously, man, I've been playing it, what can I say, since 1986. So it's got some wear, and it's got some little nicks and bumps on it. You can see here where where my hand lays, especially like when you mute strings and all, it's worn the gold off the post back here for the tailpiece. So what, man? That's I mean that's mojo, and the good news is that the frets on both of them now. Baby's a little worse. Baby's got some fret wear, but still no buzz because everywhere I played, I had 2 or 3 guitars, that I would swap between, and that's just electrics. That's not counting the acoustics that I've played. So fret wear on them is really pretty minimal, considering that I've played them for years. But that's because I rotated guitars all the time, and the difference. And there's not really a lot of difference, to be honest with you. This is probably a 60s profile neck, and so it's not super wide. It's not a big transition going to that Telecaster because the Telecaster has a thin, narrow neck. So, but there is, and I think the difference between the width at the nut and the width at the body is where the big difference in these necks comes through. So the further you get up here, you got to watch your finger spacing. The strings on a Firebird are so dang long. Look at that. Look at that low E string. Way down there. So all guitar strings, you got to know what kind of strings to buy, because some of them, the E string is not even long enough to reach the whole length of a Firebird. And but so the tension on it is probably a little different. How far you have to bend to get to the note. See how good that sounds? Just like I say, if they sound good unplugged, they're going to sound good plugged in. That's just the way it goes. This has, of course, mini humbuckers, and you say, Jamie, why you like humbuckers? Well, now I've got guitars with single coil pickups, but when you're playing a lot of Southern rock, there's nothing like humbucker. And these mini humbuckers, I can actually, depending on how I select them, what pickup I select and how I adjust the tone, I can make this thing pretty much sound like a straight stock Telecaster. And they almost have are able to get a single coil sound out of them. And of course, when you crank them up to 10, bring that tone up on that neck pickup, you have scorching humbucker all the way. So output, of course, is not as hot on these as it is on those wide range humbuckers in Baby there, but it won't eat a Les Paul for lunch. It's got more of a funk sound, kind of like that Motown chunky sound, and I really like it. Now the strap I made for this is one of my tube designs. I just made a tube of suede, and this one has the Schaller strap locks on it. I got strap locks on all my good guitars, and on the front I've got the little Marshall, not Marshall like Marshall amplifiers, but Marshall like U.S. Marshall, little conchos there, and of course my name is stamped in on a panel and sewed to the back of the strap, and no adjustment for length because it's a custom strap. I'm a big guy, so since you're making it for yourself, you might as well make it the length that you like, and don't worry about having any adjustment in it, And of course, that caught me on my other one because I've grown a little bit since I made that strap, so I had to put a little extender on it. But that, like I say, all my best guitars, I have a custom strap for, and I just thought I'd show you those today and show you that I'm not just a gun guy, that I love guitars too. And just like good guns, good guitars are a good investment, and they will serve you well all of your life. You just take reasonably good care of them, and they will grow in value just like your guns will. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you notice in the opening cut, I want to show you this guitar stand. This guitar stand is a tripod design, and it has padded rests. Now, a lot of people don't stop and consider, but if you buy a Firebird, you can't have a standard guitar stand that has the forks here, because the guitar would have a lean to it. And now they do make them with a swivel that'll hold them pretty good, but this guitar stand is a really good design because they hang by the peg head and they're supported, and the footprint of the stand is so wide that even with just one heavy guitar hanging on it, the footprint is wide enough that it's still extremely stable. When you know, if somebody were to bump the stand or something, it's not going to fall over because it's not counterbalanced on the other two hangers with guitars. It's got a real wide footprint, and so obviously, you know how Gibsons are famous for broken headstocks. So all the time I've owned this, you can imagine, this is mahogany, y'all. This isn't oak. This isn't ash. This isn't a hard maple neck. This is a mahogany neck, and it's very long past the nut here. And if this thing were to fall over, that headstock would snap just like nobody's business. So, you know, keeping a good stands and not leaving them lay around is very important. Keeping them put up in the case, keeping them put up in a safe place where, if, you know, like if your water heater busts, wouldn't ruin your guitars. So keep them up off the floor, keep the humidity right. Just like you keep a dehumidifier in your gun safe, you need to keep a humidifier in your guitar case, especially acoustics. Very important to not let the wood get too dry. Now, mostly here in the South, I mean, we're humid all the time, except for the coldest part of winter, when obviously the moisture freezes out of the air. It ends up as frost or, you know, sleet or ice. Except for the coldest part of winter, generally our humidity is pretty kind to a guitar. But in the same note, you know, if you live in especially like at high altitudes and in cold dry climates or hot dry climates, it'll make guitars do weird things. So, you know, get you a little, just looks like a little bit of clay in a little snap top can with holes drilled in the top, and you just, you know, every month or so run water in there and let it soak up some water and throw it in the case with it, and it'll keep it at the right humidity to keep that guitar from completely drying out. Now, I've got more guitars. Don't necessarily, you know, I'm not going to show them all because, to be honest, I don't play them all very much. I need to sell a few. If you're seriously inquiring and looking for some guitars, and you don't want the average run-of-the-mill stuff, you know, shoot me a line in the comments to find out what I got. But and I'll private message you. Give me your email address. But uh, these two are not going to be for sale. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I'm keeping them till I die, and I've only got one of my children that actually plays. So, I'll let him like take his pick, and I think I know what his pick will be. I think it will be Baby. Uh, Now, as the kids were growing up, they just knew Baby was Baby, but the Firebird is what they call my rock and roll guitar because because of the way it was shaped. So, uh, but these are the two that I definitely will have till I die. And the acoustic I will have till I die is a 68 J50. I believe it's a J50 that my mom bought for my dad when she went to work because she was a stay-at-home mom until my brother was born. And then after he was born, I believe in '67, she got a job. She got a day job, and with her first check, she bought Dad a Gibson acoustic, and it's I've still got it, and I'll keep that one till I die. I'll probably keep my Martin D18 till I die. But anything else I got, I would be willing to sell if anybody's interested. And they're all on Facebook. You can see pictures of them when you go, to my guitars folder in my photos. But I appreciate y'all watching today, and y'all take care. And I'll see you soon.